Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with raregem-productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to redefine your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy-Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl-Watkins-Moore, lead for our BioSTL's Inclusion Initiative here for our St. Louis region. Hey, Christy girl, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well.
Excellent.
We are wrapping up something, huh?
We are. Season 7, which means that we'll head into Season 8. And by the end of 2018, we will have completed over 100 shows.
Wow.
2 years worth of content.
Our centennial.
Oh, my goodness. And we are well over 23,000 plays and downloads.
23?
I think we're well over 22. We're on our way to 23.
Oh.
By the time folks are listening to this, all I say will be true.
Yes.
So I'm not worried.
Yes.
But
thanks
we're really
to our listeners.
Yes, and our sponsors.
Yes.
So we are always thrilled to thank CET and BioSTL for their continued support of the podcast. So check out their website, our website. Make sure you know what's going on. Get on Cheryl's newsletter. Check out the Vision Conference in October. Make sure that you're staying connected to all the work in the region.
Lots of great stuff happening.
There is. So be sure to encourage your friends to listen, to download, and please subscribe.
We want to be wherever you are.
And where are we today?
So, to say one is savvy is to say that they're shrewd or knowledgeable, having common sense and good judgment. Well, some people have all of that, and some people are lacking. But
Are you saying that we're not all savvy?
apply this definition to the tech world, and coding and the possibilities become diverse, inclusive, and boundless. When we come back, we're going to learn more about a company that strives to make the tech field accessible to everyone, especially those underrepresented in this industry. Elaine Queathem, who is a good friend, colleague, and the founder of Savvy Coders, will join us when we come back. So stay listening.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know all about the great things they are up to. Square One offers 2 training options. Square One Ignite, a 4-week program created to help founders quick start their business model validation process. Or Square One Bootcamp, an in-depth 10-week, 50-hour program that combines formal instruction with hands-on learning, networking, and mentoring. To learn more about Square One Bootcamp or Square One Ignite, visit CETSTL.com. And for your renewed and continuing support, CET, we say thank you.
Hi, my name is Elaine Queathem with Savvy Coders. Thinking entrepreneurial means to me taking advantage of the great ecosystem that we have in St. Louis that supports entrepreneurs. It also means thinking outside the box and really believing that if you have an idea, you can do it.
Joining us today is Elaine Queathem, the founder of Savvy Coders. Savvy Coders began as a vision for reaching out to people traditionally underrepresented in the tech field. Partnering with several nonprofit groups, they endeavored to bring back to communities the increasing tech talent and expanding business opportunities that were being developed all over the place. And they designed a comprehensive curriculum that would allow students to expand their professional horizons in 7 weeks.
Wow,
yes.
That's amazing.
So in 2009, Elaine was working for a small software company, and this opportunity presented itself.
Yes, we're going to find out more.
So we are so glad that you could be with us now in 2018 to tell us where that vision has taken you and what you're doing. So thank you so much for being with us.
Yes.
Indeed. Well, time flies. You know?
I know.
You can't contain time.
So in 2009, you're working for a small tech startup. You spent your career in technology, though, correct?
I started in actually Yellow Pages Publishing back in the dark ages when they still had phone books.
They still have Yellow Pages, though, right?
They do. They do.
And every once in a while, I still get a phone book delivered, and we promptly all recycle it.
Exactly. I thought they'd stop that crazy thing.
Yeah, well, this was back in the early 80s. My first job out of college was working for a small...
Wait a minute, stop. Where'd you grow up at? Are you from St. Louis?
I grew up in good old St. Louis.
All right.
Born and raised.
Okay.
Yes, ma'ams. Yeah, something I'm very proud of.
And then you did, of course, the high school and undergrad. Where did you go to undergrad? I'm not going to ask you high school.
Okay, that's fair. I actually had a short stint down at Southwest Missouri State University. Now it's called, I guess, SMU or SMS?
SMS? Okay.
I guess, yeah. That's not right. There's some other
We'll figure that out.
Yeah. Anyway.
We'll give them a shout out once we know what the right acronym is.
Then I transferred back home in St. Louis and finished my undergrad at UMSL.
Okay.
I found that to be a better business school all the way around.
So you did undergrad in business, or was it?
I did. I started out as an accounting major, and those are the only companies that were recruiting on campus in the 80s. So I thought, well, I should probably do this. And then when I transferred to UMSL, I was behind.
Oh, no.
So I made one of those fork-in-the-road decisions. It was a decision that weighed heavy on me back then. Still go accounting or change up to general business. And I'm glad I changed to general business because I have been a generalist my entire life and my entire career. And it really has served me, I think, well.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
So I'm not a details person. I'm a pretty big picture thinker, orchestrator, kind of
understand that
behind the scene. Yeah, and so that first job out of college was supervising people that put phone books together, and talk about a thankless task.
Oh man!
I remember arguing with my boss about the raises that we would give people, annual raises, and a quarter an hour was a big deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a big deal, unfortunately.
I know. Yeah. And when I think about folks that, it was a very, strict work environment. You couldn't have any beverages at your desk. You couldn't have a phone. Yeah, it was really kind of back in the dark ages. And those folks came in, they punched a clock, and you kind of owned them.
Well, I think there are a lot of organizations like that. You still punch clocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But then from Yellow Pages,
so Yellow Pages
onward to
telecommunications.
Okay,
so those,
which really Yellow Pages was telecommunications before that word existed, right?
Yeah, it was, but
in a paper format.
So those the small publishers were fodder for the regional bell operating companies. They decided that they didn't want independent publishers to exist, so they bought them all. Okay. And we were purchased by Ameritech Publishing out of Troy, Michigan. We were not purchased by Southwestern Bell, organized and operating in Missouri. But after about 3 years, they decided they didn't want them anymore. So they sold them off. And so we were purchased by a 100-year-old telephone company out of Mattoon, Illinois.
There you go.
Best company I ever worked for in my entire life. Family-owned, fourth generation.
Well, there you go.
And that's really when I became familiar with systems and services, because we had a billing application that we would sell. We'd use it in-house, and then we'd sell it to other competitive local exchange carriers, because they were becoming born every single day.
Yeah.
And they needed infrastructure, and one of the things they needed was to be able to capture the calls and bill those calls. So that was
your first tech-enabled experience.
It was, and that was in 1996. And from there, it just kept moving, because we were acquired by a company out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, McLeod USA.
Oh.
And we rode that tech bubble really high. And I had the great, as a generalist, they handed me the supervision of the Y2K compliance effort.
Oh, wow.
5,000-person company, and we were acquiring companies right up until Y2K deadline.
So you survived the turn of the clock.
Yes, right. yes.
Made it about 9 years in, right?
Yep.
And then what happened in 2009 that changed, the trajectory of your career?
Well, so actually I had a little change after that. They were, the bubble burst. I got out a little bit before. And I was always that whole accounting thing just kept gnawing at me. And I was giving people at work advice about their finances. We had all these stock options. Nobody knew what to do with stock options. There's this thing called alternative minimum tax. How do you make the best out of that? When do you sell? When don't you sell? So I thought I have to leave because all of my advocates were leaving. And I was commuting to Cedar Rapids.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For 3.5 years. And I knew they were going to say, you need to move here. And I wasn't going to move to Cedar Rapids. Mm-hmm. So when I was home on the weekends, I interviewed with every financial services firm.
Interesting.
That was in existence. And really based on reputation, I went to work for Merrill Lynch.
Okay.
And that was a very different shift from operations into a sales role.
Sure.
So that was a very wild ride. I know what goes on behind the curtain. I'm glad I know.
Sounds like a whole nother show.
It is, but I wanted to help people plan for retirement, and that's not what that job is.
Right.
So
where did that take you then? If you were then a small software company?
Well, no, we're not to 2009 yet.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry.
Okay.
We're in 2001. I had one of my first clients at Merrill was one of my former bosses.
Okay.
And then 9/11 happened. And everybody wanted to sell. And I'm like, 4 months into the job trying to talk people out of, don't panic. I don't even know why I was telling them not to panic because I'm like, should I panic? I don't know. It just didn't seem to be the thing to do. So I knew that I wanted to get out of that, and I actually went into real estate development in 2005, and we had lots of projects all over St. Louis, and then that bubble burst. So I'm sort of a bubble burster chaser at this point.
Good to know. So if you see Elaine hanging out and you're like, I wonder if I should chase that.
Don't.
Just pause for a a and observe.
Exactly.
Okay.
So after that, I had to find a job. It was the first time I was an active job seeker. 2008, along with millions of other people.
Sure.
And I found, I always joke about this, you might want to think about when you're working your Rolodex, do it from the opposite direction, because the guy that connected me to the person that hired me, his last name starts with a U.
Okay. So reverse alphabetical order is actually a sound strategy.
Just something to think about.
Good idea, because we just don't do that.
No, we don't. We start with the A's.
Okay.
So I got a job at a small company called Eastbonder, and we were building a technological platform.
Okay.
Communication and collaboration for first responders.
Great.
So it was a really cool time. It was neat to be involved in state and local government. I'd never sold to state and local government. And it was a great product. But we were small. We couldn't hire people. And when you're selling, if you can't sell new functionality or meet your release dates, nobody.
You're dead in the water.
Exactly.
Right.
So it was a note to self back then. This is a problem. We can't wait 4 years for somebody to graduate with a computer science degree.
I was going to say,
and then
this was
try to hire
about
them.
talent. This was about a lack of talent.
Exactly. That was my first sort of recognition that this is a problem. And in 2009, I was not in a position to do anything about it, but I paid attention.
Right.
And I saw that.
That observation is so important.
Yeah, and on either coast, there were these boot camps that were popping up. And I'm like, this could be the answer. And they didn't take off nearly as fast as I thought they would. And they didn't really attract as many people as I thought they would, because that whole college experience, it is deeply rooted in who people are.
Right.
And it still is very deeply rooted in who people are.
But you couldn't wait for somebody to finish a 4-year degree because you needed talent today.
We did.
Not everybody's suited for a 4-year degree, and frankly doesn't necessarily need one. Right?
Yeah.
And you were at the point where, this was really the start of the need for a talent uptick.
It was.
Within coding.
Yes,
broadly,
it was.
Right? Whether it's back end or front end.
Yep.
And
it just kept the hill just kept getting steeper and steeper, and the demand just kept getting higher and higher. But the qualified applicants, the pool, the supply, didn't continue at that same trajectory.
What seemed to be the thing that was keeping folks from participating in these programs? Because like you said, they were cropping up all over. They were cropping up on the East Coast and the West Coast, where arguably the demand for the coder was probably higher. The startup companies more plentiful, things like that.
Especially
did you see some barriers that you thought you could address in that work?
Not back in 2009, but certainly since then. I think that we tend to go with the folks that we see as successful as coders, the programmers, the guys that are antisocial, that wear the stocking caps,
spend some time in rooms all by themselves, making magic happen.
Exactly, and it there's a great movie called Code Debugging the Gender Gap about that evolution. And the media movies were very instrumental in kind of painting that picture. You know, there's always a spy thriller or something, and there's somebody doing some hacking, right? You got to hack the code, or you got to get through security, and it's always a guy.
Right.
And they're always able to just go behind the scenes, and they look like a nerd, and I think that picture, image.
Because it's usually a white guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, doing his thing.
Yep.
And even if he's doing something wrong, he ends up being the hero in some way, shape,
Exactly,
or
because
form.
he saved people's lives, or he stopped
it.
the virus from spreading, or whatever.
But in 2009, did you take it upon yourself then to go back and do
No.
coding? So
No.
how did you guys solve that issue?
Well, I like I said, I paid attention, and in 2015, I had enough of working for somebody else. And I thought, you know, this is the time that I can go out on my own and put my sales skills to work, also with knowing that there's this huge need. There's this high demand, and, you know, it really takes some talent beyond the sales part, and I found a great partner who's a self-taught coder who just loves to give back and teach. And so together we said, we have the yin and the yang. Let's pool our efforts together and let's do something.
So Savvy Coders was born.
Yes, July of 2015.
And what did that look like?
It looked like there were three of us at the beginning. We were in Nashville, Tennessee, because there was a faster acceptance of boot camps in Nashville, believe it or not.
Really?
It took us 8 weeks to get our first class together.
Wow.
Now, were you living in Nashville?
No, Alex and I would commute down there.
Okay.
But in St. Louis, it took us 8 months to get our first class. So we had a strategic partner that lived in Nashville. And she was an HR specialist. We thought that with her talent, with grant money, et cetera, we could, you know, really bring this program to people that were underserved. And there's a very well-established, highly respected boot camp in Nashville called Nashville Software School. And we were that entity that would really be a great place for people to explore whether this career, these skills, were something that, A, they liked doing and would want to, you know, really dig in and have a career in. So we actually, when we first started, we were only 4 weeks. The program was 4 weeks long. 5 nights a week. People complained. They said, we don't even have time to take a shower. You got to extend this program. So the program has gone through lots of iterations.
Of course,
because
it's a startup.
Right, but we were at night, so you don't have to stop your day job.
Right. We talk all the time about most of the entrepreneurs we work with and meet are doing a day job and figuring out how to work on their dream, whether it's extending their education or launching a new business in the evenings and on the weekends.
So we started in Nashville. We got it growing. We, you know, proved our concept, and then it was time for Alex and I to, you know, start advertising classes here in St. Louis. Like I said, it took us 8 months. And along the way, we found another strategic partner in Chattanooga. They had some grant-funded money. So we partnered with a foundation, and we did a tech workforce program for 3 actual individual cohorts of people. And then just because I know people that know people, I got a call from somebody at Slate, and they said, you're doing this program, and we have this money for this tech hire grant, and
there you go.
You know, and it just
welcome back to St. Louis.
Yeah, it happened a year ago, and our partnership has just been so wonderful.
So when we come back, I'd love to learn more, and I'm sure our listeners would love to learn more about your program. I'd like to learn more about what did you learn as you were building the business. What were some of the challenges and opportunities that you found too? So
when we come back.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast, and we want you to know all about the great things they are up to. BioSTL Fundamentals is an entrepreneur development program targeted to founders wishing to start a company in the bioscience space, including therapeutic products, diagnostic products, medical devices, animal and crop agriculture products, and research tools. Participants earn resources by achieving specific coaching goals. You can learn more about BioSTL Fundamentals by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
I'm Rebecca Bennett. I'm with Emerging Wisdom, and thinking entrepreneurially to me means seeing myself at cause rather than at effect. I am an agent of change. I am an agent of creation, not just that which is created. And I think that consciousness, that's the owner's consciousness. That's the entrepreneur's consciousness. That's what thinking entrepreneurially means.
So, Elaine, you're in 3 cities working with folks in workforce development, essentially. How did you determine who was underrepresented and really that problem you saw at the beginning of there's a lot of opportunities for boot camps and coding camps and not as much take-up among folks who should be participating in those or could be participating in those? So who did you target and why?
Well, I think it was really just an observation on my part because the folks that really go through the unemployment office at Slate are folks that, have had challenges in the workplace. And it's not necessarily because of lack of their own skills. Sometimes it's just situational. And they don't have many of them don't have the full-blown 4-year degree. And they certainly don't have the full-blown 4-year degree in computer science.
Right.
So my observation was that there wasn't a lot of intention at going into these communities to offer a look at, here's a class. First of all, are you interested in it?
Yeah, what it means and why it's important.
Yeah, beyond just playing
what the opportunity
video
it creates
games.
Is.
Yeah, what do you like making things? Do you have, skills that are logic-based? Do you like to solve problems? Here's one. Can you type? You can't really be a coder if you can't type.
Right.
And I don't mean,
one finger.
Two finger type.
You can't 2-finger type. So, and also having access to a laptop. We provide a laptop for folks that do qualify through Slate's program, and that makes a big difference. If we can get them pre-qualified before our class starts, they can do the pre-work and do a lot more of the pre-work before the class starts.
And Slate is primarily working with individuals of color, not exclusively, but I would say poorer communities.
No, I think it's folks that are unemployed.
Unemployed.
Or underemployed if they know that they can go to Slate to talk to them about, hey, I'm flipping burgers at Burger King.
Right.
What do I do? And sometimes it's a family member that has lost their job that had to go to the office to file for the unemployment. It's like, hey, they do some coaching around, different careers. You ought to check them out.
Right. They have a whole bevy of resources.
They do.
And it's called the St. Louis Resource, what is it? St. Louis something training and employment.
St. Louis Agency on Training and Employment.
Okay,
that's what the acronym Slate.
Yeah.
So
we know what that is for people who are like, what is Slate?
Sorry.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's happened now, people are referring people. They're referring their siblings.
That's great.
They're referring people in their
because it's accessible,
community.
meaning that whether it's my education that might have kept me back before, if it was life experiences that kept me from pursuing whatever pathway I had originally thought I was on track for, that this actually, there's not as many barriers. I mean, there's clearly some hurdles, but that you've been able to mitigate a lot of those. So
but it's not just that. Obviously, you're getting them into jobs.
Right.
Yes.
So, having that training propels them into, I'm sure, takes them to another strata with regards to income.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And every time we have a class, we improve the work with the individual graduates on their mock interviews. We're going to start including some technical interviews. We're going to start changing it up with different people to portray different roles as hiring managers.
So role-playing, so people can get really comfortable.
Exactly, because even though and folks that go through this very intense training, they don't know how to talk about the skills they have.
Right.
Because it's brand new to them. They can do it, but they can't really talk to you about
and paint
what
the picture
they
of what their capabilities
the
qualify them
skills.
for.
Yeah,
it is.
That's just not just the hard skills, but the soft.
It's an incredibly rewarding place to be. First, because I get to make all the decisions. Second, because I have to make all the decisions.
Right.
There's nobody that's going to say, take a left here or wait 10 steps and then go right. So a lot of it is I couldn't have done this 20 years ago. I wouldn't have had the experience or the wisdom to do this.
Right.
But I know more about the workplace now than I've ever in my life because I've been a member of the workforce.
Right.
I know more about technology because I'm exposed to it, and I'm really lucky that the people that go through our program want to help. They want to mentor. We always have 2 teaching assistants because we limit our class size to 15.
Wow.
And they're always savvy grads, and they're always extremely helpful, and they're very interested in becoming teaching assistants because when you teach it, you learn it even better.
See one, do one, teach one. Goes back to medicine.
It is. It's true. We're not going to do heart surgery just yet, Cheryl, but I've got you down as a guest
But we might
speaker.
code the machine that allows
That's right.
you to do it in the future, right?
There is technology out there right
That's
now
exactly
that's
right.
helping folks in
Yeah.
surgery.
Cool.
So what are the types of jobs are these guys getting? What companies are they going to? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, sure. So probably one of our best success stories has to do with Prattle, which is right here at the CET. One of our...
Prattle is actually, when we record everyone, they're in the office that's
right here.
outside our
They
door.
are. That's right.
They're the ones saying, be quiet.
Yeah. If you pull the curtain, we can see Tony standing in there.
Yeah.
So Tony came to Savvy Coders. He had gotten a degree, a 2-year associate's at Florissant Valley Community College. Very visual guy, all about design, but knew that he wanted coding skills. So he goes through our class, and we always have a demo day that we host in the showroom at the CET. And we invite, I invite 400 of my close friends that are employers, and I say, hey, come on down and talk to these graduates because they need to talk to people.
Right.
So Tony, being the visual design guy he is, he brings in a big monitor and a vase of flowers, and he's right on the end, and one of the gentlemen from Prattle stops by and talks to Tony, and I'm glued to everything that's happening. I'm trying to take it all in. So the next day I sent Tony a note, and I said, hey, how did demo day go? He said, it went great. I have an interview tomorrow with Prattle. And I'm like, note to self, Tony's got an interview, wait a few days, then follow up. So I did. Tony, how'd the interview go? It went great. I start in 2 weeks as a software development intern.
Wow.
And I said, because I was officing at the CET at the time, I said, who hired you? And he told me the name of his boss, and I said, I'm going to find him and hug him. And Tony said, don't hug him too hard. I don't want you to scare him away. So that was a great story. And then our demo day in June, we were over at, we teach over at 4220 Duncan, and there's a recruiting firm called Modus over there.
Yeah.
And Tanya Stewart calls me the day after demo day, and she says, hey, this is Tanya with Modus. I'd never heard of Modus before. Bad me. And she says, hey, I couldn't come to your demo day, but I'm over here at the Kick, and I really want to talk to you about demo day. And I'm like, Modus Kick. Who is this lady? I know who she is.
Don't you love that when your mind is like going
I am trying
mental acrobats?
Exactly.
And
I'm like,
who is this?
What are you talking about? And she said, the Kick. I'm like, where is the Kick? She said, 4220 Duncan. I'm like, I'm in the same building you are. It's the CIC.
There's all sorts of different acronyms for things.
Kick.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Got it.
Tanya's like, we have a client who needs to hire 60 website support people.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm on it. So I probably sent over 10 of our graduates, and they hired 5 of them.
Wow.
That's
So-
fantastic.
Great track record.
Yeah, and right now it's not for publication, but we're talking talking aggressively with a recruiting firm that we want to definitely have a partnership with, because there are, as you all know, there are diversity and inclusion metrics that companies have that we can help them achieve.
With great talent.
And I was
With
going to
great
say,
talent.
especially for folks that are in underrepresented populations, these are great jobs that they might
They
not
are.
otherwise have access to in these companies,
No.
number one, but just in this field.
Right.
So this is really great.
And even the website support specialist roles they're not necessarily coding per se.
Sure.
But you're helping users with a site, and then you have to talk to the technical people. So they're getting their foot in the door.
Right. And
When they can
get
find out what they like.
I was going to say they can always get additional
That's right.
training.
And they can talk to the peers at that place that are in those software development jobs. So just getting your foot in the door, taking advantage of an opportunity that may be 6 months or a year, because there are recruiting firms that they're buzzing around us because in 2 years, 3 years, our graduates will be able to magically check the box that says 3 to 5 years of experience.
Right.
And that's what everybody wants.
Cool.
So,
well, Prattle was an example of essentially a startup. I mean, they've got several years and some great contracts under their belt, but they're a relatively young and small company. And you're also an entrepreneur in residence with
I-10. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And working with them. So what do you see from that side of the table with regard to
what is I-10?
That is our regional information technology network for entrepreneurs.
Yes, it is. So actually, as an entrepreneur in residence with I-10, I actually lead the corporate innovation program.
And what does that mean?
So that is an initiative that really came about almost 3 years ago now. And it was a way for I-10 to engage the startup organizations that make use of I-10, introduce them and give corporations access to them, because the corporations don't always know what the innovative companies are doing in St. Louis.
Right. Sure.
So it's a very intentional and purposeful sort of matchmaking. So our corporate innovation partners all get to take advantage of to showcase annually, and they give us a wish list. Here are the companies that we have an interested in exploring.
I love that. It's like you get the shopping list from the big.
We
from
do.
The big boys.
We do.
And so do they name
shopping.
specific kinds of companies and names?
No.
Or they say, we're interested in people working on AI. We're interested in people who are looking at machine learning.
FinTech, yes.
We're looking at FinTech. We're looking at MedTech.
Here's the thing, Christy. They don't know the company names.
Right. That's what I figured.
Which is why
so they're just saying these
value.
are the areas.
That's why you go shopping for them.
Exactly. And then we put a call out, because we have partners in Kansas City and Springfield, Missouri, and in Southern Illinois, Columbia. We put a call out and we say, okay, here's our corporate innovation partner. Here's their shopping list. Do you have anybody in your ecosystem that meets these criterion?
Yeah.
And then we create a list. We ship it off to the partner. And then they come back and they say, we want to hear from this company. And then we do a showcase. So right now I'm coordinating one for our newest corporate innovation partner, MTM, Medical Transport Management. And we're going to do it on September 27th. And the individual corporations or startups will go. They'll make a 10-minute sales pitch.
So it's like that famous song, Matchmaker.
It is.
Oh, you're into musical theater. You are doing the musical theater thing today.
Yeah.
I don't know where this came out in you. But
I don't know. But that's a really smart opportunity for large companies to really be able to see the vastness, especially here in St. Louis.
Absolutely.
Of all the things that are being created.
But also a really good reason for a company to get connected with I-10, even if they feel like they have some of the early stage stuff under their belt. Because a lot of times I think people think of it in terms of, how do I get prepared to go out, say, and do investor relations type stuff. But what I'm hearing from you, too, is even beyond that point, being embedded within an entrepreneurship ecosystem for an established but small firm could make a whole lot of sense, because there are larger firms who are coming to you because you have an insight and a perspective that they wouldn't otherwise have on what's going on in the market.
Absolutely.
And that's exciting, because it means that there's an opportunity to build relationships. We always tell people, once folks get the first customer, then they just want to know, how do I get the next one, right? Where's the next contract? Where's the next this? Where's the next that? And keeps coming back to relationships, building long-term, meaningful, value-based relationships. And it sounds like that's a lot of what you're doing there, too, is helping people connect.
And a lot of times the corporations, they can play any number of roles. They can invest in the company. They can sign up and be an I-10 mentor and mentor the company. Yeah. They can also arrange for a pilot, which is a great win.
They can purchase services. They can do all sorts of
That's what we want them to eventually do, is buy the services, the goods, or the company itself.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, you're getting to see, I think, from the entire pipeline, because you're seeing folks that are not in the pipeline yet, and through Savvy Coders, you're putting them into the pipeline, and then through I-10, you're managing the relationship between these young startups and these large corporations. So that's got to be really exciting.
It is. It's very exciting and terribly rewarding.
Awesome.
Terribly. So I guess, you know what? Going back to the time when you said, shoot, I'm out of here.
From the corporate life.
From the corporate life. How do you feel now?
I feel great. It's been, I have to tell you, the thing that entrepreneurs, Well, the thing that you need to know, and I say this with not any hesitation, I didn't have to go buy a printing press to do this.
Right.
I didn't have to liquidate a 401k.
Right.
I didn't have to take out an equity line on the home. But what I did have to do is I had to go about 18 months without a paycheck. And as an entrepreneur, if you can't afford to do that, you have to rethink your timing. I wouldn't say don't do it, but I would say you just have to be prepared, because what happens if you're not prepared for that, you're thinking, is this going to go? Can I go another month? Can I really go another month? What if it's another month? Well, then what if it's 2 months? And that kind of panic that just becomes part of your daily, oh my God, you don't need as an entrepreneur. You need to focus, you need to do, and you need to focus, and you need to do.
And that reminds me, Nicole and Abe Adewale were on our show, and they talked about how they prepared to start their company by leaning down and using one car, right? And socking away a year's worth of pay salary, so that they had that in the bank, and then figuring it out. And then one of them made the leap, and then it was another year before the next one made the leap. So that reminds me just of that, using where you are today to prepare for where you want to be tomorrow, and bank that nest egg, take care of the things you can take care of, because the job gives you that type of security, and then be more prepared.
Yeah, and
there's always uncertainty.
There is, but one of the great moments of relief I had was when I hired a marketing firm. I walked out of that meeting, and I felt like this weight
was lifted.
Had been lifted, and I can't help you have that feeling, but it happened, and it's like, wow.
And it's that feeling of investing in the right resources at the right time.
Exactly.
It's like exactly what you did in the beginning. You invested in yourself. You assessed your capabilities and what you could do and what you can offer. The same thing as you're moving your company forward, doing the same assessment. So where can people find you?
Oh, www.savvycoders.com.
There you go.
And who are you looking for? Is there anybody who should be hearing this and having their ears perk up?
If you are between the ages of 17 and 29, you will qualify, and underemployed, you will qualify for a Tech Hire grant, and you can take our class.
And that means it's free to them.
It is. Slate writes us the check.
And if they're over 29 and interested?
If you've been laid off, or you can demonstrate that these technical skills can be of benefit to you as you job seek, then the Northwest Chamber, that particular unemployment office, Workforce Development Center, they know about Savvy Coders. We're registered with them. You can go visit them.
So, awesome. Wow. And if you're a startup and you want to get connected with I-10, or you're one of the newer companies on the field?
I-10 is www.i10stl.org.
I-T-E-N.
Yep. And you can go to the website. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can sign up to be a mentor. We do 1 million cups every Wednesday at 9 a.m. at T-Rex. We also sponsor the showcase event at Venture Cafe the second Thursday of every single month.
Changing the way you
and we also have
view
office
ventures,
hours where you can talk to our entrepreneurs in residence and get specific information on topics
Get
that
connected
you might
and
want.
discover more. Visit our website for show notes,
awesome.
resources, information.
Thank you so much for making time and for doing all these wonderful things in our community and other communities to make sure that we have the tech and
be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes.
Thank you so much.
The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneurially-thinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.